everyone, welcome to the next episode of Nell and Friends. Today we have Sam Swinstead with us from vivoHR. Hi Sam.
Hello.
Hello. Let's start off with introducing yourself and the business, please, to everyone.
Yeah, okay, so I'm Sam from vivoHR. We're an HR consultancy working in Farnborough in Hampshire and offering our services to small and medium-sized businesses in the Surrey-Hampshire borders region, providing HR support.
Perfect. Tell us how large your team is.
So there's me, and then I have Claire and Rachel working with me. So three of us doing HR consultancy.
Perfect. And there is 2 office dogs that might make an appearance in the background.
Yes. They're very wise about HR.
Yes, they can cover when you're on holiday, is what you say.
Yes, definitely.
Definitely. Okay, perfect. Right. So today I wanted to talk a little bit around, lockdown, COVID, how has it been for you, the team, your client scenario? So I'll kind of backtrack a little bit to March or to earlier this year. When did you first really start realizing that there was an issue, that something was going to become a problem?
Oh gosh, it's interesting, isn't it? I remember saying to Claire and Rachel, I don't even remember if we were calling it coronavirus at that time. I guess we must have been. It all feels like such a long time ago, doesn't it? But I remember saying that there's something going on. We probably ought to put out a mail to our clients just saying, this is going on, you might want to pay attention to it. I didn't really think very much of it. And so I was just going to look up. I can tell you exactly the date I sent that first mail. It seems a long time ago now. 26th of February, I sent a mail to all our 10 clients, basically saying, we don't want to scaremonger. The infection figures are still really low, but there's some advice that you might want to pay attention to. And I don't remember really thinking it was going to be anything that big. I remember thinking, this will be a bit of something, nothing. We'll have to be careful for a bit, and that'll be it. I don't think nobody had a clue, did they, what we were facing?
Did you then, if you sort of look back, do you then feel that between that first email that you sent and then going into lockdown, that it was almost like a blink of an eye and the world exploded? Or what did it feel like for you?
Yeah, I think so. I think, again, if I look back at the mails we sent over those few weeks, the first thing was, all we were talking about was, if people get it, you can claim sick pay for them. And it didn't feel that serious. Because maybe I was just naive, or maybe we all felt like that. I can't really remember now. It's so hard to think what we were visualising at that point in time, isn't it? Yeah. And you're right. Suddenly, we hit the 20th of March, and that announcement, was it on that Friday, was the pubs are shutting tomorrow. And then I think, so Claire and Rachel took all their kit home that day. I said to them, look, I think they're saying work from home, take all your stuff home. Let's just kind of assume that you're going to need to work from home. Let's get ahead of the curve. So we literally emptied the office. They took everything, their chairs, their monitors, everything. And I was still going to come into work. And I came in on the Monday, the 23rd, and it felt really weird being here, just me. And I thought, maybe I'll start working from home. And I'm glad I did, because that afternoon I took everything home and thought, maybe I'll just work from home too. Yeah. And of course, that evening, suddenly we were in lockdown, and that was it. So it did feel like that month went in the blink of an eye, from there's something going on to the whole nation's locked down. Yeah.
So at that stage, from a team perspective, you were all working from home, kind of to adapt as a team. Did you find that quite hard, or was that quite easy?
I think because, I suppose I've worked from home for years. The business started in my extension. And Claire and Rachel have both always had the option to work from home when it's suited around childcare. Rachel's got younger children, Claire's got teenagers that need, mummy taxi. So we've always had a bit of flexibility around working from home, and we weren't always all in the office together every day anyway, because we would be out and about with clients. Yeah. So in some ways, I suppose that was easy to adapt to. I think moving home lock, stock and barrel, of course, is a completely different feeling. So we very quickly decided we needed to have regular structured communication. It's okay having the informal, I just need to phone Claire because we just need to talk about that, or I'll just give Rachel a quick call about that. Yeah. But we put in very structured, so we have Monday morning start the week call, right call, Then we have Wednesday get over the hump call and Friday end the week on a high call. So
Nice.
we've planned those in, and you know, we stick to those pretty religiously. And you know, that's quite nice. It's a bit of a mix of social, how was your weekend, what's your plans for this weekend, how's your week going, and then, you know, what's everyone's workload look like, what's everyone got on their agenda, what problems have we got coming up, you know, what's gone well. So
okay. Team morale throughout all this, how has that been? How's the team sort of coped working from home with the kids at home?
I think it would be naive to say there's been no challenges. I mean, I hold my hat up to Rachel, because she's had the younger children at home. She's by the way, so she's going to get an inflated ego here as I'm talking about her. But you know, Rachel's had small children at home. Teddy would probably be furious to be called a small child, but you know,
well, pretend he doesn't know.
He's needed help with being homeschooled, and I think that was tough at times. You know, it was quite nice. Teddy came and joined us on quite a lot of our Zoom calls. We had a phase where he did fancy dress for us. That was quite cool.
Nice.
Or he would appear in his school uniform, or we'd see examples of his work, and that was fun. And I think you kind of had to just blend in work and family. There was no point in pretending kids weren't at home, because we all knew they were. I mean, at one point we were so busy I was going to give Teddy a job. I think he'd have been all right.
Child labour?
And then you know, Claire's had different challenges, because she's got teenagers who need reminding that they have to get out of bed before midday, as do I. So although Jake was working, he was furloughed, and whilst he didn't need to get up and do studying, you know, there was that kind of just needing to remind him that there was daylight. You know, Oh,
bless him. Okay.
So for each of us, I think it's different challenges. But I think in the main, I think because we've been busy, perhaps we haven't had time to get too down about it. We've had to just kind of get on with it. I think probably at times it's been more managing how busy we are.
I was just going to say, would you say, because it's been quite interesting so far throughout these interviews, or just generally with talking to clients, loads of people have had major wobbles, major days or weeks where throughout all this they really just lost energy, interest, anxiety, whatever it may have been. Did you ever get to that?
I hated lockdown. I mean, I'm very much an extrovert, and not. It wasn't about the work. It was just about not seeing people. That's just not me. That's not my personality. That's not what I like to do with my time. So I struggled with the isolation side of it a little bit, I think. Not really any major wobbles. I suppose it's at the back of your mind, there's always that, you know, we've been really busy, so business has been okay. But there's always in the back of your mind, what if, you know, it all goes quiet? What if people don't need our help? What if the work goes, you know, all dries up? So, and I think some days have been harder than others to motivate, haven't they? But I think, again, we've tried to just be kind to ourselves as a team and just say, do you know what, if you need to just go and sit in the garden for half an hour with a cup of tea, and if it's a lovely sunny day, do that. Take a lunch break, go and sit in the garden for an hour. Sit in the garden for 3 hours if you want. I mean, I've always been a fairly flexible, I hate the word boss, but, you know, manager in the way that the team have worked. You know, if you want to go and sit in the garden for 3 hours in an afternoon and then catch up with the work this evening, or on Friday when it's going to rain, well then do, you know. I think that helps. You know, just, I mean, I have to go out and walk the dogs anyway. I think sometimes just going out for a walk and, you know, getting some fresh air and a bit of exercise helps.
It makes a difference, doesn't it?
So
what about, almost, because that's the internal side of things, what about sort of, I'd almost say, external clients? Talk me through what, as soon as we went into lockdown, what I don't even want to mention the F word. I'm just going to leave it up to you. But what happened?
That's
the only summary, really, isn't it?
The whole kind of world went a bit crazy, didn't it? I think. I mean, everyone has different views on, and I don't want to be political, but I think, you know, our government have offered an amazing amount of support to a large number of businesses, and I know there are some businesses that feel they perhaps got missed out of that, and it's not a perfect scheme for everybody, but in the grand scheme of things, I think it's been pretty amazing, the furlough scheme. I think the challenge at the beginning was inevitably the government had to introduce something very, very quickly to stop a tide of redundancies from happening, which was a good thing, but what that meant was we just didn't have the detail. So we knew there was this thing furlough, and we had a broad idea what it meant, but the details weren't there. And I think that businesses were just so fearful of getting it wrong. We're all a little bit scared of the HMRC, aren't we?
Yes.
It's that one thing you have in the back of your mind. If I get inspected by the HMRC and I've done something wrong, and I won't really understand what it is they're telling me that I've done wrong, and then they're going to tell me I've got to pay them thousands of pounds, and I probably won't be able to argue it because it's the HMRC. So I think people were so fearful about getting it wrong, paying their staff this money, assuming they were going to be able to claim it back, and then finding out that actually they couldn't. And then what were they going to do? Because it was going to bankrupt their businesses.
Yeah.
So I think that first month between them announcing it and people being able to make the claims at the end of April, wasn't it, the first claims, people were just in a state of fear and anxiety and just so little knowledge. I mean, never in my career have I spent so long saying to my clients, I don't know, I haven't got the answer, just don't know. My best guess is this, I'm making it up, it's probably that, we don't really know.
Yeah.
I think once the first furlough claims were paid, and the government did what they said they were going to do, they were paid very quickly. Everyone got the money by payroll date at the end of April if they put the claim in on time. I think there was this collective sigh of relief. Actually, this wasn't a big hoax. We are going to get the money. We can continue to pay our staff.
Yeah.
We didn't do anything wrong as far as we know. And actually the claim process, the calculations were tricky, but the claim process actually wasn't too tedious, I don't think. Payroll people may argue with me and say that actually I've got no clue what I'm talking about, it was horrible. But I think pretty much once you got to making the claim, it was okay. I think there was a bit of a sigh of relief. There were still things we didn't know. So even all the way through May into June, there were things that we just weren't clear on, but it's become clearer as time's gone on.
Yeah.
And of course, it's definitely helped. I mean, for some companies, I think it will be, the proper name for furlough is the Coronavirus Job Retention Scheme. For some people, it will have retained jobs because they'll better survive this, come out the other side and have staff come back. For some people, it's probably better named the Job Extension Scheme because it's probably just kept people employed for longer, but there may still be redundancies that are going to happen anyway.
Yeah.
But even that has meant that people aren't, trying to claim benefits. That we haven't had, a flood of people being made redundant all at the same time. So I think it's achieved the goal. And for a lot of businesses, it has been absolutely the lifeline. So, yeah.
I take it as a business itself, you have been super busy because loads of people needed advice, but you've also had to be really on the ball because things were changing so rapidly.
Yeah.
In a matter of hours, especially at the beginning, I would imagine, but even
and always on a Friday,
and always on a Friday
evening.
Yeah, I remember us kind of laughing about that, and you're going, I'm waiting till 5 o'clock, and then some days it didn't come till 8 o'clock, and then you'd get an email from you at 9 o'clock. Yeah, you ladies have had to seriously be on the ball and read so much stuff to clarify, to then be able to pass through to your clients. But that's put a lot of pressure on all of you.
Yeah, it's been a lot of time. It's been the right thing to do. And my view on it was, we have clients on retainer with us, so our commitment to them is to support them through anything where the employment law changes. So we had that commitment already to the retained clients to provide that service. And my view then was, well, do you know what, we've written this information, we've spent the time digesting it. If other people can make use of it, why don't we just share it? So we started by just sharing it then with anybody that was on our mailing list that we'd done work with previously, and just said to people, would this be useful? We're happy to share it. And of course, people were. So we ticked the GDPR box, we didn't send anything spam. And then there were just a few business Facebook groups that I belonged to, and local Facebook groups. I just said, we're producing this info, does anyone want it? And actually we had a huge response from people wanting to be added to the mailing list for that. So once it's written, it's done, isn't it? So yes, it has been a big commitment of time, but it's commitment of time that we would have had to have made anyway. So it's been nice to feel that we've done a little bit to help people, really.
Did you create any new products or services throughout all of this?
We've had to produce quite a lot of new processes around redundancy. Not that redundancy processes have changed particularly. but we've never done redundancy whilst people have been on furlough before, so that's been new. So we've had to produce some new documents and processes to guide people through that. We're working on, I'd love to say it was finished, but we've been so busy it isn't, some support programs for people around being good at remote working, because I think, to use cliched language, the landscape of work is going to change. I think there are a lot of people who are now thinking, quite like working from home, wouldn't necessarily want to do it full time, but the flexibility to work from home, it's worked. I think businesses that previously would have objected to staff working from home are having to look and go, well, actually, do you know what? None of our fears about it came true. People have done a good job. People have carried on working. So I suspect we're going to see, and also I've got clients who are saying, do you know what? We pay for these really expensive offices. We're not sure we really need them. We've proven we don't really need it in the same way. And I think there's been the immediate needing to manage working from home, which has been around, let's have a Zoom call on a Friday afternoon and all have a glass of wine, and let's keep everyone's morale up, because it's been that kind of almost wartime mentality, hasn't it? I think that's very different to having a business strategy, which is our business normal processes are around people working from home, working remotely, hot desking, working flexibly. That's not the same as what we're going through at the moment. So we want to start offering some support to clients around, if that's going to be your business strategy, then you need to think about it in a strategic, planned way. And that's for all sorts of reasons. The health and safety implications of people sitting working at their dining table. Yes, that's fine when we're in a crisis. That can't be your business strategy, to have people sat on a dining chair every day. Data security, confidentiality. But for me, from the HR point of view, it's going to be around things like presenteeism. At the moment, if you go into an office or go into your workplace and you're sick, you get sent home, you stay at home until you're better. If you work from home, one of my concerns is that there will be this ability to go, well, I don't feel great, but I can sit on the sofa under a blanket with my laptop, and people will carry on working when actually they probably should take time off sick. But also all the stuff around team morale, and how do you build long-term team relationships, how do you communicate, how do you engage people, how do you induct new staff if they're remote, and then all the practicalities around hot desking. When do you need people to be in, how do you know who's coming in when, have you got enough desks for everyone to be in? What do people do with their IT? You've either got to have 2 sets of kit, or people have got to have laptops. So there's all sorts of things to think about that are not as simple as what we've gone through recently, which is crisis lockdown mode. Everyone go home, stay there. We'll sort it out later.
Yeah. So just to put this in perspective, throughout all of this, furlough and how we manage the working from home has not really been the only thing you've been focusing on, right? You've had clients that have gone through what we would class the normal things. Normal
HR, yeah. Interestingly, I wouldn't have believed that we would be doing it probably a month or 2 ago, but we've actually done quite a lot of recruitment recently. I think we have to remember the media aren't very good at telling us this, are we? But there are a lot of businesses that have, I know you feel this with your business coaching, there are businesses that have grown exponentially during this. There are businesses that haven't necessarily grown any faster than they would have done, but have survived business as usual. There are businesses that have come out the other side of this and gone, right, we need to do stuff differently. So we've done quite a lot of recruitment. I'm back doing training. So I didn't for a while, but we're back now doing training online. So we do some management development training with people, doing some management coaching, those kind of things online. There's still the usual disciplinaries and grievances that come up that either needed dealing with before we went into lockdown, or for businesses where staff were still working. Those things still happen. And of course, a lot of redundancies. And just managing absence, sickness absence.
So it's kind of, although life isn't normal, it's kind of life is normal.
Yeah.
Think about it. So what kind of changes have you made as a business that you go, actually, we're going to keep this moving forward?
Well, as you know, Nell, if you'd asked me to do this video interview with you 6 months ago, I'd have laughed at you and said I don't do video.
Correct.
The biggest change for me has been just getting over myself around being on video. Yeah, I was someone who, if you said to me have a Skype call, I'd be like, oh, I will, but I won't turn my video on.
Yeah.
A month in, you forget, don't you, that you're. In fact, it's now quite weird if you don't see your own face all day long, isn't it?
Correct. So after a while, I kind of go, is my hair still all right? Because I've not looked at Zoom long enough.
There was one day in lockdown where I had cut my own fringe and I was in a really long meeting about a really serious set of redundancies. And I spent the whole meeting distracted because I'd missed a bit and I had this blob down here in my eye. And I spent the whole meeting going, I've got to cut that off. I've got to cut that off.
It's the different, and that's something when you were in the office, you'd never even think about.
No.
But, you know, distractions off.
Yeah. So that's been a big thing. I think.
Anything else?
I think for all three of us, it's made us realise that actually, you know, we can do the working from home, working remotely, keeping in touch by video really quite successfully. Like I say, I was always pretty flexible anyway. I always have been. You know, I've been a working mum, so I know flexibility is the only way to make it work. But I think we've thought, you know, even more about how we can do that. I think for clients. It's reinforced my belief that the right and proper way to do things where there are emotions or tricky conversations, so disciplinaries, grievances, redundancies, those kind of conversations, I think out of respect to people, they are better done face to face, absolutely. So I think that when we can go back to meeting with people, it would still be my suggestion that those meetings should happen with people in the same room. I think it's more respectful somehow. Maybe that will change over time as people get more used to it, but to me, those meetings still don't feel, we've got no choice at the moment. Yeah. Those meetings still feel to me like if they could be done face to face, it would be better too. Okay. But for a lot of other meetings, I think it's made me really realise that I spend a lot of time in my car where probably I don't need to. Okay. And that actually for a lot of just client or sort of account management meetings with the business owners or just to talking through how to do things or ideas, that this is perfect. We don't need to all get in our cars, and I think that, yeah, for me, that kind of ticks all sorts of boxes in terms of being a little bit more environmentally conscious, gaining some time back, just being more efficient. All sorts of things. For my clients, it's more cost effective because if we go out and see clients, we tend to charge a minimum meeting time because, you know, if I've driven somewhere for half an hour, you know, it's cost effective to only then bill someone for 20 minutes of my time. Whereas actually, if we're just jumping on a Zoom, that's fine. So I think we'll continue to do a lot more client meetings in this way. And I think our default position for a lot of client meetings is going to be, we have a lovely office with a meeting space. If you want to do it face to face, you come to us. Or we'll do it by video. And if you want us to come to you where it's not really entirely necessary, but because you prefer it, then we will charge for travel time. Because I think we've got better at using our time.
Yeah.
I think there's a limit to that, though. I think there's a downside to that as well. In that, what I've found is you have to be much more disciplined with your time because it's very easy to fill. And I know you've done the same. Every minute of your day with back-to-back meetings because you're on Zoom. And then you suddenly realise you didn't even give yourself time to go for a pee or grab a cup of coffee, and that's not great. So I think it's about managing the time in a different way.
Yeah, that was definitely the first lesson learned when we went into lockdown. Right, must do diary management better when it's online. Yeah, you and I had a massive conversation around that. I remember that at the beginning.
Yeah. Well, I'm using Calendly, which is great, and I give people access to Calendly so they can just book into my diary. Yeah. And you can book Zoom calls on that, and that's fantastic because it saves so much toing and froing of when are you free, how can we meet.
Yes.
But at the same time, it takes away control over your own diary. And so I have had days where I thought, right, I've got a clear day today, I can get that done, and then I log on and I'm like, oh, I've got 3 meetings booked in my diary now, which is great because obviously you want clients to want to be needing you. But it can throw your planning off somewhat. So I've just got better again about planning what time I make available in my diary on Calendly.
Yes, that's one of my lessons too.
Yeah. But it has encouraged us to use tools like that more as well, I think. Yeah. To just be more efficient.
Anything you're going to stop doing? So anything that you've been doing throughout this period that you go, actually don't like that, we're going to revert back to what we used to do?
Like I say, probably I think those kind of more emotional, tricky conversations, I still think we should go and meet people face to face to do those. one of the things I am thinking about is taking on a second office so that we could offer our clients a meeting space, because some of my clients, and I think we'll see more and more of this, are reducing their office space because they've decided they can have remote working.
Yeah.
But I think one of the knock-on effects of that will be that people won't have a confidential meeting space to hold those difficult meetings, or even to do recruitment interviews or coaching. So that's something we're thinking about as another service that we could actually offer to our clients.
Yeah, that's a great idea. I like that. Where do you see all this going, Sam? So from your industry for your business, the next 6 months, what are you ladies anticipating is going to happen?
Oh, I suppose so much of that is dependent on whether we have this, much talked about second wave or not. The government have been very clear that there won't be any further extensions on the furlough scheme. The furlough scheme at the moment is due to end at the 31st of October. They're talking about second wave being in the autumn. What's that all going to look like? If there's a second wave and there is no furlough scheme, I don't see how businesses are going to survive, because if businesses usually would have a reserve of cash, they've probably used it. And so there is no spare cash lying around to kind of see them through a tricky time.
Yeah.
If they didn't have a reserve of cash in the first place, well, then there's nowhere else to go, is there? So I think, if we do have a second wave, businesses are in for a really tough time. And I wonder whether the government will have to think about how they're going to do something, because the reality is, okay, they might not do furlough, but if there are lots of redundancies, all that happens is people end up on benefits. So the government still end up having to pay out to support people in one way or another. So I don't know. I was talking to a client about it this morning, and he was saying, I'm so busy, we're turning work away. They didn't do very much during lockdown because they're a plumbing company, so they couldn't go into people's homes. Come back out of lockdown, all the routine services that should have been done, people are booking, people are wanting to have work done. They've never been busier. And I said, are you thinking about taking other people on? And he said, no, he's not right now, because what if I take somebody else on and then we have a second wave? It doesn't feel morally right that I then might have to say to somebody, I'm really sorry, you've only been with me 3 months, but I haven't got a job for you again.
Yeah.
So
it's almost kind of a combination.
Growth planning, I think, to a certain extent. I know you'll be working with people saying, make the plans anyway.
make the plans anyway. And I've been talking to everyone around, you've got to have a plan B. We've got to, in that plan that we're now creating between now and the end of December, you have to have a plan for a second wave. Mm-hmm. If you don't, it's silly. You've got to look at that at a minimum and go, actually, either what can I change right now so your business is better geared towards it, because we know what's potentially coming, or we can guess what's coming, or you've got to know, if that happens again, what are our options? Yeah.
So if it does happen, I think we would better do exactly the same again. We'd all just go back to working from home, and I suspect what we would do is we would spend a lot of time supporting clients with redundancy, sadly. Or other exercises to cut costs in their businesses.
What are you looking forward to the most doing again? Whenever, let's say that everything is back open again, what sort of, I was going to say first on your list, but I think your first on your list has already been done, right?
Yes, has been done.
Has been done.
I'd quite like my eyebrows waxed. That would be quite nice. They're hidden under the fringe quite successfully at the moment.
Love it. Okay.
I guess what I would like to think is that we could be looking forward to the sort of things that I like doing, going out for nice meals. I know we can go back out at the moment, but it just doesn't feel like it's going to be quite the same. And for me, kind of, I don't know if we're allowed to mention the dreaded C word yet, but as we go into December, we're heading towards all the festivities. Rachel's now in the corner planning Christmas already.
No!
What I always like at Christmas is going up to London, seeing the lights, going and seeing a show. I mean, I love going up to London and going to the big theatres and seeing a show. We had things planned this summer, didn't we?
Yes.
To be able to go and do those kind of things again, I think would be lovely. And go on holiday would be nice. Go somewhere and get some sunshine would be nice. And again, I know we're starting to see signs that we can do some of that. I'm still a little bit like, do I want the hassle of thinking I've got a holiday booked and am I going to have to isolate for 2 weeks when I come back, or aren't I? And I'm not quite there yet with thinking I can be bothered with the hassle of it.
No, I think I'm in the same boat, and I keep an eye out on Europe in general, just to see, because they're a little bit ahead of us. And if you're seeing that in a lot of countries, they're already going, or they're sort of starting to backtrack on some of the rules that they've loosened, and they're starting to implement stricter rules again because their numbers are going up. You kind of go, yes.
Might just stay at home and be in the garden this summer. But I do love my holidays. I love going away. I don't find it as relaxing to be at home, even if the weather's lovely. It's just not the same.
No, it's because we don't
still
have
find yourself dragged into going, well, I'll clean that cupboard out, or I'll do this, or I'll just pop out to the shops and get that. It's not the same as being on holiday where you just switch off from everything.
Yeah, absolutely. Last question: what have you learned about yourself in all this?
What have I learned about myself? I think it's probably reinforced that actually being isolated is not good for me. It's not me. I am a people person through and through. I enjoy spending time with my friends, with my family, being out and about, interacting with people, and being stuck at home in the spare bedroom as my office, seeing very few people other than through a screen, does not suit my temperament at all.
So time to get back out there and see people and not hug you.
It's been lovely the last few weeks. People being able to come over and just sit in the garden and have a cup of tea or a glass of wine. I don't feel the need to do anything very extravagant, but just to interact with human beings.
Yeah, although I have to admit, I love the bit where you sit around the table and you have those interactions. It's the arriving and the leaving bit that's weird, because me, I'm a hugger, and kind of not being able to say hi and hug people as you walk in and walk back out, that still feels very strange. But
absolutely. I tell you what was really weird as well was I did some job interviews just before we went into lockdown, and it was when we were doing the whole kind of, I don't think we were talking about 1 metre or 2 metre at that point, but they were saying, wash your hands, don't shake hands. It was that. Doing job interviews and not shaking hands with the candidates when they arrive and leave was really uncomfortable. It just didn't feel right.
Strange. Yeah. So maybe that's another thing to look forward to.
But shaking hands.
Shaking hands. Say hi to people. Hug and shake hands.
I'm curious to see if we all maintain the habit of hand washing. I would have always said I'm someone who, I'd wash my hands at the usual times. I wouldn't come in from shopping and wash my hands.
No.
I wonder if we'll all keep some of those habits, and I wonder what that will do to kind of like normal illness transmission, like coughs and colds and tummy bugs and stuff, if we've all got a different mentality around hand washing. And like kids, the kids would never have washed their hands like they do now, and that's almost become second nature to them now.
Oh, interesting times ahead, Sam.
Very interesting times ahead.
Well, all I want to say is well done to you ladies for being absolutely rocks in our local community.
Oh, thank you.
Because you have done such a great job in supporting so many people with information and with updates and reading and getting your eyes go cross-eyed from all the documents the government was bringing out and updating us and supporting your clients. I think you've done an amazing job, and you should pat yourselves on the back and hug each other.
Oh,
you can't hug each other. You've done a great job, because it's so important for all our local business owners to have a great support network around them, and to have people that they can trust on and that they can rely on to give them information and be there to support them. I think is really important, and you've really stepped up. Not that you weren't not stepping up before that, but you've really stepped up in this time.
But it's been a nice thing to do. It feels like we've done our little bit, Everyone has to do their bit in a way that they can, don't they? Not everybody can go and volunteer for the NHS.
Right.
But if we all do a little bit to support other people, it's what makes the world go round, isn't it? Just being a decent human being,
Beautiful. I think that's a beautiful end to our conversation. Thank you very much for your time today.
My pleasure.
And that's it. See you guys for the next episode.